literally 15 minutes. You see like all the communication, skills and certificate. These can all become links, build the education timeline, experience
Wow,
timeline,
this
a
is
little
so
bit of
good.
about me.
Yeah.
You can publish it if you want, but we're not going to do that.
You can even take a screenshot of that site and paste that here, and it will incorporate those elements in the prompt that it generates for you, which you can then paste in Lovable or Bold.
There is so much more you can go in and modify using Webflow.
I'm Naman Pandey. This is the Ready Set To podcast, and in this episode, featured not expert is Farah Fallah Toosi. Today's discussion is a bit of a crossover episode between the podcast and my YouTube series Build Your Own App, a series where we showcase the cutting edge of AI tools and technologies in an attempt to make these accessible for the masses. Today we go over the many ways one can create a completely customizable personal portfolio site to showcase their skills and get noticed by recruiters. This includes a complete start to end demo of how to use Lovable to make that portfolio site for free, of course. We also go over Webflow, some backend tools, and finally end our discussion with a very deep comparative analysis on various vibe coding tools that exist currently and which one might be the best for your use case. As of recording this today in May 2025.
Well, Farah, what does ease of use or scalability mean? What features does that have? I will tell you, I analyze the features that I incorporated in scalability and usability in the previous websites.
In line with our theme of learning from somebody that's just 2 steps ahead of us instead of an expert, my goal with this episode is to help any person out there, technical or not, in getting started with using vibe coding platforms and leverage the wealth of possibilities that these unlock. Even outside of LinkedIn, if somebody just Googles your name and if your website shows up nice front and center, that's already such a huge bonus compared to all of the other thousands of people that don't have that going. Subscribe on YouTube and any of your favorite podcast apps for weekly episodes featuring not experts and daily clips from those episodes on YouTube and Instagram. Also, check out my Build Your Own App playlist, which is now ever growing, and I have a bunch of just insane content planned for that in the upcoming weeks, and I assure you that you don't want to miss out on that. And now, without any further ado, here's Farah. Welcome to the Ready Set Do podcast, where we learn from journeys of not experts who are just 2 steps ahead of us. Farah, welcome.
Thank you, Naman. It's good to be back.
I am so excited to watch this amazing demo that you've set up for us around how to build one's portfolio site and how anybody can go about doing that using free tools. But before we do that, I do want to kind of set the stage with letting you tell us what does somebody have to lose if they don't have a portfolio site, right? So we hear about having an optimized LinkedIn, a resume. Those are musts in this day and age where it's so hard to find jobs. What is the comparative advantage to having a portfolio site in this day and age where it's so difficult for anybody to get any interview callbacks, right?
Yeah, of course, definitely. I do want to start with the fact that, based on our previous conversation, I think your audience knows that I do not have a strong stand on anything. I'm just here to talk about the pros and cons of whatever option you choose. So, having a website, in my opinion, has more pros than cons. One of the most important things about it is building your brand. You are creating your personal or business brand. You're associating yourself to something beyond the company that is hiring you or the job title you're searching for. In a website, you can map out all the details of what you're passionate about, the projects you worked on, create perhaps interactive tools. If you're passionate about tech news, you can create a database of people subscribing to the newsletter you send on a monthly basis. There is so much more that you can do with having your own platform with whoever your audience is, than just the basic having an email or having a social
Yeah,
media,
it
etc.
also gets you discovered so much more, right? Not just on LinkedIn, if you have just more followers and if you just have a bigger brand. Even outside of LinkedIn, if somebody just Googles your name and if your website shows up nice front and center, that's already such a huge bonus compared to all of the other thousands of people that don't have that going. So, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. That
definitely,
makes sense.
definitely.
Do you want to, yeah, jump into? I know you
I
made a little
do.
presentation.
Before that, I
Uh-huh.
do want to point out the cons of having a
Oh, yep.
portfolio website.
That's a good call. Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, con, but define con is the fact that you need to maintain your content. And that's with any branding. If you want to build your social media portfolio, if you want to have your resume updated, website is no different than any other. You need to make sure your content is updated and up to date with whoever is visiting it. And there are a few other things, like there might be costs associated with it. Are you okay with like paying your, the amount of Netflix monthly subscription to pay, maintain a domain under your name? So these also exist that needs to be mentioned. But I do have a presentation for you. So if you don't mind, I get started here.
Yeah.
Just a heads up for the audience, I am catering this to students, making it a lot more specific, and also can open up if there is interest on the topic. I can definitely open up more. Do you see
Yeah,
my screen okay? Is
I
everything
do see your screen, and I just also want to add that as we go through this, if you have any other topics that you would want us to cover, especially if you would want Farah to cover, just feel free to comment below, and we will have a bunch of upcoming videos on which we will try to cover as many of those as possible. But yeah, sorry, back to you, Farah. Yeah, I can see your screen. It looks super awesome. Yep,
perfect?
agenda.
I am going to make this super quick and easy. It's going to be 15 minutes of talking, 15 minutes of demo, and a little bit of comparative analysis with all the existing tools and technology out there.
I just want to
So,
say I love the minimalist nature of your slides. Like this is so great. I'm just such a fan of slides like this. So
yes,
sorry. Just
no,
wanted to interrupt you real quick to share that.
honestly, like a little bit of side note, one of my main takeaways from my internship at Apple is
Mhm.
building the least content possible web
Nice.
slides as possible. Like,
Nice.
it's so they're so specific with like how can you carry as much information with the
Hmm.
least amount of
Wow.
content is so important. Again, back to branding, but
Yep.
it's gonna be a branding discussion. But for the ease of conversation, I really focus on AI powered tools. So
Hmm.
this is not going to be your CSS, count the pixels, give me the RGB website making that
Right.
most people may have in their mind if they're if they, if they still have that in mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very simplified chat GPT, like just have a conversation to build my website for me.
Hmm.
And I'm also going to talk a little bit about, well, what are the limitations with some of the AI power tools? And
Hmm.
if you do want to actually host your website, what are
Okay.
some of the backend options available?
Okay.
And if you want to build a database behind it, if this is a dynamic website, what are some of the things you can do? I'm now focused on the backend and database, and
Hmm.
these can be topics for us to discuss more in the future if they're
Yeah.
interested.
Absolutely. And also just in the context of a portfolio site, right? Yeah, those are not the most primary factors there. You really just want a landing page kind of, right? Doesn't really need to have a database, but yeah, that makes total sense.
Exactly. So it's 2025 and we are ending May. So we're exactly like in the middle of
Hmm.
2025. I have a feeling you and I are going to go back to this video in 5 years. But it's
Yeah.
at this point, there is no excuse for you to want to build a website and not be able to.
Yeah, that's such a strong line. Yeah, I should title the video that. Seriously, yeah. I mean, and I just want to add that the reason I say that is because in all of our human history, as long as the internet has been around, it has literally never been easier to make a website than today, right? And I
Ex-
feel like a lot of people don't fully grasp that, at least
no,
people that I talk to,
and that's why we're building content like this, because
Right.
there is sometimes the availability and the wide range of content available can
Hmm.
take away your your ability to find exactly what you
Yeah,
need. So
exactly.
this is
Yeah.
the simplest thing. Hey, students out there, if you want a website, you can make it in 15 minutes for free, and I'm going to show you how. So this is
Amazing.
basically what you need. It's so simple. You do not need to know a single word, you do not need to type a single line of code.
Hmm.
And it's all easy and simple, and it's not going to cost you hundreds of dollars. Yes, it may cost you a little bit, but it's not going to be hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
So all the tools that you see on my screen here
Hmm.
are what I heard and saw my friends use it. So
Uh-huh.
that's how available they are. This is
Yeah.
not just like whatever on the website. Um, some of them are more modifiable and customizable, but at the
Okay.
same time harder to work with. And
Okay.
some of them are so much more simple and static and easier to work with. But for the purpose of today's discussion, we're going to focus on three specifically. It's
Nice.
going to be Webflow, Lovable, and Wix.
Okay.
If you don't mind, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about software. Is that how they call it? Software,
I
right?
think so. Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
You think about software, and this is for people who actually take personal branding more seriously and want to make a much more extensive,
Right. Like more polished, do you mean?
more polished, but it also creates an application for you.
Mm.
It also integrates it creates an application for you, it integrates social media for you. It's a lot more extensive in
Okay.
the
I see.
reach it has, as opposed to just building a simple static website.
Got it. That's
um,
helpful. I see.
Software is a lot more expensive. It can get up to $200-300 a month, and that is not the enterprise version. That is personal
Huh.
branding, but it really does make a big difference for
Hmm.
someone who's starting their own business or want to like make a big focus on SEO, which is search engine
Yeah.
optimization, or
Hmm.
the tagging and being noticed a lot faster on many different platforms.
Hmm.
For the purpose of this demo, I did not focus on software,
Yeah.
uh,
Makes
but uh,
sense.
but yeah, we will talk a lot about Lovable. I played around with Webflow for a week for this video. So, and Wix, we all know it. It goes way back. This is
Yeah.
from like way before it.
Yeah.
Like,
Probably more than a decade now that Wix has been around. Probably.
let's actually search that. How long has Wix
Yeah.
been?
My guess is it started in 2012. That's my
I would
guess.
say 2008. 2006, Naman.
No way.
Wix has been around since 2006. Is actually
That's
Israeli-based company
wow.
founded in Tel Aviv. Yeah,
That's crazy. I
leader.
would never have guessed that.
Google calls it the leader website creation. So
Huh.
definitely the old school UI
Yep.
portfolio building. So, but good for them. Shout out to Wix because they kept up, and now they have AI
True, true.
interactive with their users. You can
Yeah.
actually generate the web flow you want using AI, and we are going to talk about that. Okay.
Awesome. Wow. So excited.
Yes, and backend tools. So there are many different backend tools you can use. Firebase is a Google native tool.
Hmm.
Firebase is one of my favorite, and there's so much more you can do than just hosting with
Hmm.
Firebase. But you actually do need to know some coding. You can do vibe coding using
Yeah.
cloud or other tools, but it will require some skills to be able to modify and build what exactly you need. You may need some debugging. Airtable is good. Inos is the one I personally have used for every
Okay.
website I use. I think it's the cheapest option, and it's got good support. So I like Inos. Cursor is another one. Supabase is more. Supabase and Xano are both. Database and
Hmm.
database creation kind of backend tools. So
Right.
we will talk about them. Again, I'm using INOS. We're not going to get much into backend, but
Right.
for my comparative analysis, I'm talking about INOS, Supabase, and Xano, how much it will cost you, what they can do for you, and what they bring to table. So we're going to go to Lovable. Now, this right here is my favorite tool.
Hmm.
And they can sponsor me if this video gets more than 100,000 views. Please sponsor me because I really love using this. And
Uh-huh.
any website you've seen me build so far, I have used Lovable for.
Nice.
Lovable
Awesome.
the dev is where you actually get to, where you land when you want to build a website. And this is what you get. All I've done is logging in. As
Hmm.
simple as that. Now, they have something that they use like credits with how many edits you can have and how many things you can run. Okay.
Okay.
Again, I already have an existing prompt,
Hmm.
but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use ChatGPT to generate a new prompt
Uh-huh.
for creating a prompt for Lovable. So um, I want to build a portfolio for myself, right? And
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell ChatGPT, hey ChatGPT, I want to build.
Yeah, right, right. Makes
And
sense.
Lovable doesn't read bullet points well.
I see.
So
While it does this, I just wanted to share that I did something similar once with Bolt, and I'm sure this will work on Lovable as well. But for those of you, if you have already a website or if you've seen someone else's website that you really like that you kind of want to replicate, you can even generate a screenshot or just take a screenshot of that site and paste that here and then have it be like, I want mine to look like this. And it will incorporate those elements in the prompt that it generates for you, which you can then paste in Lovable or Bold. So that's like just a random tip that I, felt relevant to share here.
thank you for sharing. That is so true. And I just love these little hacks that can
Yeah, right. Yeah,
make such a big difference.
truly. Yeah.
Please generate a detailed, pastable prompt for Lovable AI. So, as we predicted,
Hmm.
ChatGPT generated bullet
Bullet
points,
points. Okay.
and it always does that. So, it takes a few runs. Or I may just need to copy paste my existing
S-
prompt.
So I think, okay, so you're saying that this would not work because it has bullets. Is that right?
No, it will not work
Gotcha,
because it
gotcha,
has bullets.
gotcha. Can we ask it to not generate bullets explicitly?
Yeah, let me try that actually since we have time.
Yeah, and like if obviously if it doesn't work, we can just use your saved prompt. So
Yeah, since the whole world is not watching us do this
yeah,
live.
and the other thing that I like with this stuff is this is problem anybody else will face also, right? So if we show them this solution as well, then they'll be, I think they will appreciate that and they'll be like, okay, this is not just all rosy and fun. Sometimes you run into problems, but you just have to use your brain to figure out a solution, and that's really the whole point of any of this, right? So we'll
Hmm.
see if this works, and if not, obviously we have a fallback.
Yeah, I think pastable might have been a word it didn't understand.
This is good though. I think this is
This is exactly what I want. Yeah.
okay. Perfect.
We go to Lovable again. Lovable the dev basic copy paste. Let's see what it gives us. Okay. And this tool is just amazing. Now, again, just like everything else, pros and cons of Lovable.
Hmm.
One of the cons is that Lovable actually keeps their brand on your URL. So you will
Ah,
always have Lovable unless you pay more.
right.
You will it's they carry their brand with
Mm-hmm.
any website they make,
Mm-hmm.
again hosted on Lovable servers, so you're limited to their downtime. And it can also get expensive if you want a lot
Mm.
of customization and edits.
Right.
They have their own templates. You don't always need to use AI, but their AI tool tend to work really well.
Uh-huh.
So it makes sense if
On
you.
the Yeah, on the hosting piece, isn't there, I know with Bolt at least, I know there's a way to separately host it on your domain. So you buy a domain that's not affiliated with Bolt and then there's a way to connect that domain with wherever Lovable or Bolt hosts that. So is there a, do you know if there's, you can do that with Lovable as well?
Absolutely. You just
Okay.
have to use the backend integration, which
Right.
may require,
And you
just
would still
having
have to pay for the domain name, obviously.
to have to
You
pay for
can't
domain
get
name.
around that. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I did was using Ionos just for that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I
You can
see.
use Ionos just for that to, have the backend integration and the hosting and keep the domain name. Yeah.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, and honestly, I feel like just for students, even if it's like namanpandey.lovable.dev or whatever,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, to each their own. If you feel like you don't want to have that brand, then go ahead and attach a domain, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right. And I personally am a firm believer of iterative and incremental improvement.
Hmm.
Start somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just build
Right.
your first version, and then you can always make it
Yeah,
better and better over
true.
time. So
Speaking of first versions, this is pretty good.
we have a website.
Yeah, look at that.
This is what it looks like. See the name. I have it made it a resume like, as you can see.
Hmm.
Does download resume, connect with me. And you know what's funny? The connect with me often works well. Like you see my
Yeah,
actual phone number, my actual email, and
email.
my
Yeah.
actual LinkedIn.
Wow.
I wonder if booking meeting also works.
Yeah, how did find book a meeting? We didn't even prompt
I
that, did
know.
we?
No, it actually goes with. So I have noticed that Lovable picks the most popular designs with like based
Okay,
on the category.
got it, got
Yeah.
it.
So I think if it's set to be a professional website,
Hmm.
it realized that most people have book a meeting and it just adds it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it also said Calendly invite placeholders, so I think we would have to connect that ourselves. But yeah, we just have to replace the link there. That's all we have to do.
That's
So
right.
that's
But these
very
these are
straightforward.
working fine.
Yeah,
Like you
those
can
would
just
work.
see my
Yeah,
LinkedIn here.
yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and literally 15 minutes you see
Hmm.
like all the communication, like the skills and certificate. Now key project and awards, data for good. These can all become links. And
Hmm.
then again, build the education timeline, build like experience timeline, a
Wow, this
little
is
bit of
so good.
about me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can basically, okay, but you can publish it if you want.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But we're not going to do that. What we're going to say is, can you please generate multiple? Okay, yeah, let's talk to it instead of talking to Gen AI. But instead of using Open AI, you can
Hmm.
also talk to the tool. So let's try
Right.
this a little. So I have this other website that I have created again using Lovable in 15 minutes,
Nice.
and I'm going to do what you just suggested. Get a screenshot of it
Mhm.
and simply give it to Lovable. Can you
Nice.
please generate a similar UI as the attached screenshot? I would like to have multiple pages and details, multiple pages, for example, about me, projects, education,
I see. Yeah.
etc. And add more detailed content to each section based on attached resume. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah, I'm actually curious to see how this performs, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
yeah, trust me, even though I have ran this 10 times,
Okay. You
this
have, okay.
website you see, I just built it this morning.
Okay, okay, got
But
it.
I still am curious what it
Yeah.
does because every time it does something
Exactly,
different.
exactly. Yeah, there's
So
still no telling for sure that it's going to do it. So, yeah,
exactly,
I
never
guess we'll
change.
see. Yeah.
So keep in mind, students, with every modification you ask Lovable, you're using some credits. and the free
Hmm.
version has only a limited number of credits.
Yep.
So at some point, if you're just really just experimenting, at some point you're gonna hear, "Hey, your credits ended," and you're gonna be left with whatever
Hmm.
website that you have at that very moment. So just keep
Yeah.
that in mind. While we're waiting for this, because it's taking longer than I expected, I'm gonna
Mhm.
quickly talk about Supabase here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovable has internal integration with Supabase, which is really a backend database section. So you can do something like, if you're interested, leave your email for more information, like
Hmm.
just a fillable section.
Hmm.
Um, and Supabase actually captures that email with any data you want from your user and
Hmm.
creates like CRM
Yeah.
database of your audience or who's interested in your profile, or
Hmm.
you can actually keep that data.
Yeah.
And there's so many other ways that you can leverage a backend database for your website, but
Hmm.
if it's going to be as simple as what we're building here with just portfolio and hiring managers, you can use Superbase for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then so that is Superbase. Superbase I think is also free. Like I don't think I
Yeah, yeah. Even with Bolt, yeah, it just integrates directly. I think they have a limit on when your database becomes big enough, like up to a certain degree, but it's big enough for you to, for most people to actually never reach that limit. At least if you're dealing with text fields. Now, if you start having people upload pictures and videos, that's a different story. But yeah,
that's
for
right.
most text fields, it goes pretty far.
Yeah, that's right. Um, Also, while we're waiting, I want to point out Lovable also has drag and drop feature. So
Yeah.
you don't need to only chat with the AI to generate what you want. You can also drag
Interesting.
and drop like buttons or fillable or anything else as such that also exists. Speaking of which, this is
Yeah,
what it
wow.
did. Okay. So you just see one single page. I cannot
Mm.
scroll. I'm not able to scroll,
Hmm.
but you see pages like about me. What is this? Oh no, no,
Yeah.
no. That's an error. But their errors have been decreasing a lot with
Right,
time.
right.
So I can just ask it to remove that. You can
Hmm.
see my experience well mapped out here.
Wow, this is so cool.
Yeah,
I love
education.
this.
It
Hmm.
has the projects, skills. I ask it to separate them on each
Hmm.
page, and then you see the contact at the end. Okay. So I am quickly going to chat now. One thing that's interesting, you can actually chat with Lovable without deploying any changes.
Hmm.
So one of the things I'm doing, again, Lovable, please sponsor me. I love you guys. But what is the screenshot of the picture on the about page? Is that an error? Let's see what it tells you.
It will be like, you are totally right. I'm so sorry that I made this.
So it says, let me examine. Like it shows the thought process.
The image is something that
This
this.
appears to be a placeholder image that was uploaded to the project. Based on the file path and naming convention, this looks like a generic placeholder image rather than an actual professional headshot of Farah Fallah Toosi. So I thought it's an error. The image is not technically an error. It's
Hmm.
loading properly and the code is working as intended.
I
However,
guess
it's
that's
likely
fair.
displaying a placeholder image instead of Farah's actual professional photo. So saying, I'm putting a picture here that you gave me that I
Hmm.
thought is your headshot, but
Yeah.
it is not your headshot. So it's not an error. It's just the wrong thing being in the wrong place.
Hmm. And it also told us how to fix that.
Please remove that image. I would not like to have a headshot on my portfolio website.
So while that runs, I did have a question.
Please.
So something that I struggle with, at least on Bolt, and I've never used Lovable, but they seem to be pretty similar. But the it doesn't do well with images at all. So suppose I upload an image of my headshot and ask it to put it there, it just fails. Like it's just not able to do that. So is that similar with Lovable as well, or do you all in here you have to go into the code file and replace the link with of your image with that you uploaded somewhere on like a free image hosting site, or like how
Yeah.
does that work? Have you had
So
any
my
experience with
experience
that?
has not been same as yours. I
Okay,
didn't have as much struggle, but also keep in mind I don't usually use image or video content. You,
okay,
on the other hand, with your website or podcast, you have
yeah,
a lot more images than I
right,
would.
yeah, yeah,
My focus is mostly text generation.
okay, makes
But
sense.
I can also see how these we call them AI powered web applications
Mm-hmm.
are more focused towards the chat bot and
Mm-hmm.
the chat aspect of the model training than image processing or voice processing aspect
Right,
of the model training. All of these would require so much annotation, so much
true,
fine
true,
tuning, so they try to focus their resources. I can imagine how they would try to focus their resources on the chat
yeah,
text analysis than the image processing. So
yeah, makes sense.
although with the speed things are going, I
Mhm.
don't think
Oh yeah,
that's still
yeah,
an excuse. Like
yeah.
I think they should
Probably
do
a
better.
couple weeks. Yeah, probably a couple weeks away before they patch that forever, and that problem is solved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Quick note, I mentioned to the chat section, to the AI, Lovable AI, that I don't like the image you have there, whether
Hmm.
it's headshot or it's a screenshot. I don't
Yeah.
want.
Hmm.
And they get back to me saying, okay, so I will remove the image, I would adjust the layout, I will optimize the content layout, and then make it responsive design check. Okay.
Okay.
But
Wow.
keep in mind, this is still the chat section. So
Mm.
there is a button in the bottom that says, do you
Okay.
like this? Should I
Nice.
implement it? Because
Nice.
keep in mind, again, every implementation takes some credit. So I
Hmm.
say, okay, I go with what you want, implement the plan. And I
Nice.
think this is very smart because
Yeah.
the modeling is confirming what it wants to do
Uh huh.
instead of trying to understand the user's expectations. So it's really as if, again, analogies like, Naman, you're making a point to me, and I tell you, hey, Naman, do I understand this right? That you're
Hmm.
trying to make the point A and B and C? And
Correct.
then you say,
Correct.
yeah, that's correct. That's what I want. So it
Yeah.
will be much easier. So it's done. When you go to about, you don't see any screenshot anymore.
Yeah. Look at that.
I think we are way over time. So let me just publish this website. And Farah knows AI Pathfinder.lovable.app is getting published on it. There you go. And that is my domain. So this is my website.
All right. Let's go.
You can all go look at it. I can change the content however I want. There are editable features where
Hmm.
you can go in and change things, like this. You know, like you can change so much about
Hmm.
like leadership, product leadership in AI ML infrastructures.
Wow. That's actually. I don't know if Bolt has that particular feature.
Yeah, and you can change the font size, the color, and that's
Interesting.
it.
Yeah.
um
Huh.
and yeah, and this editable section actually doesn't take credit, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, which makes sense, right? Because you did the editing. It shouldn't. but
exactly,
but yeah. No, that's a good call out though. Yeah.
so that's it. That's my website, everyone. Call me up if you need anything. I don't know if you have more time, but I wanted to show a little bit of software, Xano. This is the backend tool for hosting, and of course, Webflow. I built this again in preparation for this recording.
Hmm.
I use Webflow. Webflow is um, actually, I started to really like Webflow as I
Hmm.
prepared for this podcast.
Yeah.
It's a lot more customizable,
Okay.
very
Interesting.
much more so if you're someone who wants to like put a video of your demo into your website, you may actually end up liking Webflow more. It is, if you're from Photoshop era and you enjoy using Photoshop, This is what my website looks like right now. Again, this is AI generated. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more dynamic. There's a lot more that can go into it. So definitely give Webflow a try. Naman, I don't know, maybe future sessions you're interested in, we can
Yeah,
work
I
with
was
Webflow.
I was actually going to say if we can maybe briefly snapshot this, I mean that would actually be wonderful. I understand it won't be as much of a deep dive as we did on Lovable, but I am just really curious to learn just a little bit more about this actually. So if you don't mind, just sharing a little bit about what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want it now or do you want it later?
Oh, can we? Yeah, I'm just thinking literally like 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes,
Yeah,
if we can just
definitely.
overview stuff. Yeah.
Definitely. Again, AI generated. I gave it a prompt and talked about what I want, what do I expect, and
Mm-hmm.
the websites are all responsive. It can be shown on. It can be shown however you like. There seem to be a lot more details in
Mm-hmm.
terms of how many pages you want, or what should the error page look like, or
I
do
see.
you want to sell anything on your website?
Got it.
CMS collection, again, content management tools, and what does the template look like? Like, it has a lot more details that you can go through and modify based on what you prefer to see. Um,
Hmm.
Again, like all types of layering. If you ever use Photoshop with the layers, like headlines, the
Interesting.
paragraphs, the fonts, there is so much more you can go in and
Mm-hmm.
modify using Webflow. This is the image stacks,
Pictures and such. Okay.
all
Yeah,
the
so it sounds like this is just for more for people that are a little bit more tech savvy. Is that the right assessment, kind of?
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely more design focus, more
Okay, I
savvy
see.
and more customizable. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the other feature I liked about Webflow is SEO and
Hmm.
overall
Right.
interaction analysis. This is not coming with the basic plan. You will have to
Okay.
pay for it,
Mm-hmm.
but it does have that integrated, which makes a big difference.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds great. Yeah, I would love to do a future session, deep diving a little bit more on this.
yeah,
But so I
definitely.
know we covered Lovable. I think to close things out, can we look at the comparative analysis that you did,
Sure.
especially now that our listeners and viewers know what Lovable can do? So, if we can use that to kind of share around that area, what else is there, what's not possible, I think that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Back to comparative analysis, I did like a little bit of analysis. My favorite, again, something I used before is the second row, which is
Hmm.
Lovable with Ionos. With
Hmm.
Ionos, you can host your own domain. You can,
Okay.
if you want to integrate Superbase and collect your user data, as well as perhaps if you want to have some Gemini API or OpenAI API integration with your website, you can do all of that using Lovable and Inos. And I'm sure you can use with Software and Xano or Webflow and Xano as well.
Hmm.
It's just that I have not done it yet and I'm not familiar with it.
Got it.
Um, so if you see with the ideal user section in
Hmm.
the last column,
Yeah.
it says that ideal users for Lovable Inos are writers and consultants because
Hmm.
it's a very text heavy representative website,
Okay.
and something with like Webflow, as we just demoed, it says you will need to be an advanced builder
Advanced builder. Correct.
because you
Correct.
don't want to get frustrated facing bottlenecks of not knowing how to use it,
Hmm.
as well as the more you know how to use it, the more you can leverage Webflow's features to build a better website.
Hmm.
So that's another one. Now I quickly talk about the pricing in this website.
Hmm.
Again, software is the most expensive because it provides applications, it provides a lot more reach on many different domains, whereas
Hmm.
something with Lovable is really just an AI builder and a web application creator.
Okay.
Now, you can see the range of Wix and Webflow being on the same range, but
Mm.
Webflow being very designer and advanced customizable, whereas Wix is on the other side of the spectrum with more
Correct.
beginner and basic setup. Now, you might ask yourself, well, Farah, what does ease of use or scalability mean? What features does that have? I will tell you. I actually built the features. I analyzed the features that
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
incorporated in scalability and usability in the previous website. Some of the things I looked at is whether or not you can use custom domains. Yes, for all of them you can.
Yeah. Okay.
CMS blog is like, how often do you want to have the content? I think it's actually very important to know how your content is being maintained,
Hmm.
because with CMS features, you can have on cadence release, you can have tagging on the website to make sure your website actually shows on a specific search. You don't want to just reach out to anyone. I don't want to just reach out to anyone who is searching for AI ML product. I want to reach out to the hiring managers who are
Hmm.
looking for AI ML product manager in infrastructure and compute inference optimization, for example.
Yeah.
Then you can see drag and drop UI. Well, how can you
Mm.
add boxes? How can but like the layers we saw with the details in Webflow,
Hmm.
Lovable does not have that. So you
Got
can
it.
see how it's more limited. They're all mobile responsive. Do they support custom code? If you know CSS or Java, can you actually go in and modify things? In
Hmm.
software, you can't, but something like Lovable allows limited of it. In Webflow, you can fully go ahead and build your
Huh.
website.
That's so interesting that software doesn't allow that. Huh. That is so interesting.
Yeah, I think again it might be the integration of multiple different platforms. So if you're changing
Mm.
something on your website, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Probably some design decision going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the storage and bandwidth is also an
Mm.
important base. I mentioned the credit based usage of Lovable, how
Lovable.
many
Yeah.
times you can actually run. So that's another feature.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, that was it. I do want to, if there's three things you want to take away in terms of how to build this website, make sure your prototype, is hosted on a platform. If it is on Lovable, you will have Lovable branding on it, as well
Hmm.
as it's limited to the SEO and domain provided by Lovable and their
Correct.
downtime. You can
Yes.
always use Gen AI tools to generate prompt to build your website. And if you want to have if you want to have dynamic content, that will take this to a whole nother level, with like generating, for example, I don't know, daily information about
Mm.
this and that.
Ah,
It's all gonna change the whole game.
I see.
So that's gonna be a whole different game. It was such a pleasure and honor to run this quick demo and analysis for you guys. And it's my first time demoing this tool that I found out, but the technology is moving so fast, and there's so much being added and removed on a daily basis that I'm pretty sure just 6 months down the line there would be much easier, better tools to leverage. So the whole point of this, for myself, a message to myself, is make sure you stay updated. There is
Yeah.
constantly so many tools being generated for help you do what you do every day, so
Mhm.
you can focus on what you're most passionate about, and leverage some automation for administrative work. I hope you enjoy this presentation. Let me stop sharing. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and sorry for talking too much. No.
No, no, this is perfect. Thing is, by the time somebody finds out about a development that goes on in AI, like 5 days have passed, and that news is now so old that there are three newer models that do that thing way better. So it's just moving at such a breakneck speed that most of my friends and peers just have given up trying to even catch up. But I haven't, and clearly you haven't. And I just think that's I just really want to commend you on that, because yeah, I think that's really cool.
Thank
So yeah.
Thank you so much.
th-
It is, in fact, a very changing scene. There is
mhm,
so much happening all the time. Sooner you start leveraging these tools for what
yeah.
you want them to be used for, the more foundational and customizable, your gadget is going to be.
Yeah.
The thing
And
is, Yeah,
Exactly. No, yeah, just that, or you would be left behind. I don't know. Maybe that's not the nicest thing to say, but it's the truth, right? Because you don't want to be left behind ever. At least I don't, but yeah,
there is
maybe.
definitely the FOMO element,
Yeah.
definitely the FOMO element. And I constantly in casual conversations with friends compare the FOMO element of Gen AI and
hmm
now agentic AI era to the dot-com boom of
Yeah,
early
that's
2000s.
that's spot on. I agree.
And
Yeah.
it's like everybody could have generated websites in early 2000s, but only the YouTube of the world became the
hmm
YouTube. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, history repeats itself, and we have always had the right tools for us to do what we want to do, but it was very few people who leveraged them
Right. Right.
and stick
Yeah.
to what they wanted to build and adapted over time with the change of environment to modify their tool to a better version of itself. So again, it's 2025, folks. You have no excuse to not be
Yes,
able to build what you want to build in
that's
today's day
true.
and age. And I myself included, we have to constantly stay on top of finding the best tools available to us to simplify that process.
Absolutely. So, to anybody watching, please be sure to subscribe for future sessions with Farah, which we have a bunch of. I think I counted like three or four just in this conversation. And Farah, thank you so much for taking the time today. This has been so helpful. I've learned so much. And yeah, looking forward to, more sessions.
Of course. Thanks, Naman.
That brings us to the end of that fascinating crossover episode, the first of many, hopefully, fingers crossed. Thank you all for sharing these conversations with those that continue to benefit from them. If you would like to support me, the easiest way to do that is by subscribing on YouTube and leaving me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps. Something that goes a really long way is if you, by word of mouth, share with your friends and family what a great podcast this is and how you found your new favorite podcast. Catch you all in the next one, new episodes every Wednesday.